Mic check, 1, 2. Test, mic check, 1, 2. Today we're talking about cars, and we're going to talk about cars. Today we're going to talk about my relationship with cars, and also the vehicles I've had over the years. So I actually started driving 6 years old on my dad's lap, all right? By the time I was 7 and 8, I could operate a stick shift car by myself with no problem. It was really cool back then. It was almost like a spectacle when I'm, driving the car. My dad's like showing off my driving skills. Over time, in my early teens, vehicle became a symbol of freedom to me. When I think of cars, it was this tool, it was this thing that could take me anywhere and anytime I wanted. And I just really, really wanted a car before I had one. And my first vehicle was a car my friend found for me. It was a stick shift, white ACURA INTEGRA. The bumper was like missing a whole chunk. I remember I had to slowly upgrade, each part. You're talking about like rims, bumpers, speaker system. I had like 12-inch speakers in the back, 2 of them. It was a really cool car. Over time, my friend spray painted the front bumper. That was the first paint job that I got. Over time, I actually traded it for a pearl black paint job, maybe half a year into it. And then I started like fixing up stereo, stuff like that. I got into a 3000 GT VR4. If you guys know what that is, it's a V6 twin turbo, all-wheel steering. This is a really cool car. The wing actually is active aero. So when you go above a certain speed, the wing actually moves, and it was wide and it was low, which is really, really cool car. I remember that. Still one of my favorites to this day. I only sold it because I think the motor blew or something like that. I put a lot of miles on it, the motor blew. After the 3000 GT VR4, I don't think I had a car then. And I ended up begging and asking my mom to borrow her 5-colored Camry. Asian people, I think she bought it with some problems with it already. The hood was one color, the front bumper was a color, the rear panel was a color, the trunk was a different color. It was very embarrassing to drive, okay? And I drove that for a while and I didn't end up giving it back. I just kind of kept it. And she was cool with that, and I was very thankful for that period in my life, but it was also very, very traumatizing, all right? So after the Camry, I think I saved up enough. I was going to auctions and I bought a red Evo, right? And I share with you guys a picture of the red Evo. The red Evo though, I remember driving it, it just felt like a toy car. It was bouncing everywhere. I didn't quite like it. Pretty heavy boost, but it wasn't my favorite car out of all of them, all right? And then the next car, it was my first real car into the next level, and it was a Cadillac XLR, okay? If you know what this car is, here's the picture. I ended up fixing it up too. It was silver initially, and it was kind of the base model, but to me back then it was just a lot of money still. And over time, I changed the bumper, I actually changed the paint because I remember these cars, the white paint was extremely rare, and I just really love white cars, and I ended up painting this car white. And it was a Cadillac XLR, and during this time, I also bought, it was either 26 feet or 36 feet. Don't quote me on this, or it might be 34 feet. I forgot. It was inboard, twin VOLVO motors, a Bayliner boat. Okay, this was my first boat. It was really cool. Didn't have a place to store it. I remember towing it back to my mom's house when she was not there. And she showed up and she was just screaming and yelling. She's like, "Why do you have this thing in front of my house? Are you trying to get us robbed?" I'm like, "No, it's a really fun toy. We should go enjoy it." And she's like, "Get this, piece of junk out from my front yard, blah, blah, blah." I don't know, it's very typical of Asian parent reaction. Okay, keep in mind, the XL is the most expensive thing I've ever bought in my life. And to this day, some people will still baby this car, but when I got it, I knew this car had a mission, which is to help me get to the next stage of my life. So I drove this thing. I drove it to the ground, okay? I'll tell you guys about it later. But I drove everywhere. It was first, I used it as a commuter between Sacramento and San Francisco, and eventually I moved out to the Bay Area with this car. And when I moved to the Bay Area after, I think I moved a couple cities, I picked up a Hummer. And this was a Hummer on 26-inch rims. They were very shiny, very unlike me, but I bought the car like that. It was like really cool. People thought I was a drug dealer. I had 17-inch subwoofers in the back. And I remember driving it, and it cost me almost $100 every other day for gas. And a couple months later, I'm like, yeah, this thing is a piece of shit, I need to sell it. So I liquidated it, made some money off of it. I had a motorcycle, it was a Ninja 636. All right, I also bought it at auction. I think someone like downed it, a bunch of parts needs to get fixed. I bought it from auction, fixed it, made it pristine again, rode it for a while, sold it, made some money off it that way. I mean, after the Hummer, I was still driving the Cadillac XLR for a while. I didn't remember at this time, I began to make more money and I bought a Nissan GTR. Okay, my first one was a Nissan GTR. I bought it from a Google employee who was trying to offload the car to buy a house. I remember it was just such a good deal. So I bought the car, drove it for a long time, and then I knew that I wanted to get into exotics, but my credit was still not good enough, you know, because you need a certain amount of credits to buy exotics. And so I was trying to figure out a way how to do that. And they said, okay, well, you need to buy more expensive cars to transition into exotic. So after I bought the first GTR, which was like the base model, the very first one they had, I transitioned to the newest one they had, which was a 2012 Nissan GTR Black Edition, straight from the showroom. And I think that's one of the very few cars that I bought brand new, okay? Because, you know, I believe in buying cars that's been depreciated already, that have a few thousand miles on it, where the first owner ate majority of the depreciation, and I will come swoop in, you know, buy the car at a very good value so I can drive for a while and sell it for almost the same price. But the Nissan GTR was purely, the second one, I love the car, but I bought it to build my credit so I can get into the next car, which was my Lamborghini Murcielago. And I bought this car and it was just a game changer. It was my first exotic. I remember just like when that car landed at my house, I bought the car from a showroom, they transported it to my house and they dropped it off in front of my doorstep. And I remember just getting into that car, and that car was a symbol of success, you know, that all my hard work was paying off and now I was going towards the right direction, and that all the negative things that I have ever encountered when it comes to entrepreneurship, that just became chatter, you know, it was no longer relevant, versus before I'm still thinking, you know, is this the right move? Should I go this route? Should I do this type of business? But when that car landed, it was more so just affirmation for me, like, hey man, you did the right thing, just keep on going. And for you guys that are watching, you know, everybody treats their car differently. And for me, cars are objects to me, cars are tools, cars are things that we use, cars are things that serve us. Okay, it's never that I am a servant to my vehicle. It's always that my vehicle is a servant to me. And as you guys can see, my Ferrari behind me, it's so obnoxious that I have my Instagram handle on the back of my car, but again, it's my car. And when it's parked there, it's marketing for me. People are looking at my Instagram. You love it, you hate it, that's your problem. But the thing is, the car is working for me. Does that make sense? It's a tool to service my life. And I never baby my cars. What I mean by that, I drive them as much as I want to drive them. I take them to the mountains. I take some of my cars to the track. They serve me, okay? And also, at the same time, I take care of all my cars as best as I can. I don't think for any of my vehicles, if you ever come in contact with me, you won't be able to find a single scratch. Okay, not a dent, not a scratch, because as soon as there's a dent or a scratch, I immediately take care of it, because I believe in treating your things well so that they can take care of you. Okay, this also goes for treating people well so that they will take care of you. Anyways, so while I had the Lamborghini, I remember this time, I was kind of building a couple new businesses, everything was going well. I think at one time I had like 7 cars at the same time. And some of these cars, you'll see in the picture. In this picture, I think there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars. It was my BMW 5 Series, which is a daily driver. It was a Lexus CT, which is a daily driver. And we had a Ford Excursion stretch limo. We bought that because we wanted a transport vehicle to go to parties with. Because back then, we had an entertainment business and we hosted events all the time, and we just want to roll in style. So we said, all right, let's pick this up and let's just use this car to take us to events. And this is what the limo was for. And then the Lamborghini was just there just as a, you know, the Lamborghini was there as a fuck you car. You know, like anybody want to say something, I'll just pull up in the Lambo. So that's a Mercy. I love that car, by the way. As of today, the Lamborghini Murcielago probably has the most and the deepest impression on me to date. By the way it felt, what it made me feel like, how other people view the car. You just do less talking with these nice cars, because you don't have to try to explain to people how well you do. They just look at your car and they just know, right? So that was Lamborghini Mercy. And oh, how I parted with this car. Check this. Again, all my cars are tools for me. At any given time, if I feel like I need to make a move so that this car can service me better, I will. For example, my business back then needed some more money. And I had large amounts of equity trapped in this Lamborghini Murcielago. Even though I love that car so much, I looked at it and I said, all right, well, I'm gonna have to let you go for a while so that I can get some money out so that my business can thrive. It was a short-term sacrifice for long-term gain. And you know, I was kind of sad about it, but I pulled the trigger with little hesitation, all right? And again, I used it as a tool to better my life. So sold off the Lamborghini. Short there a while afterwards, I picked up a Bentley GT Continental. That was kind of cool because I always want to drive a Bentley to feel, I bought the car because I felt that maybe it was a more mature thing to do then. Like I thought that mature people drive these cars like Bentleys and Rolls Royce. I loved the car for a very short time, but I got bored of it very fast because, oh man, I remember I was racing an Audi R8 V8 model, and the V8 was keeping up with my W12 Bentley GT Continental. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, little V8 is keeping up with the W12, like, but I got rid of it eventually because, I don't know, it just didn't feel like my vibe. But during that time, actually, when I had the Bentley, I also picked up a Tesla Model S P90D, which was the highest model of that year. This was 2016, I believe, and I picked up a 2016 Tesla Model S P90D. And just to give you guys a heads up, I've driven a lot of cars, okay? There is nothing, if you're talking about a daily driver, there's zero cars that could touch this P90D. It will blow any car out of the waters on the streets, all right? And the technology is so advanced. I mean, I completely bought into Tesla after that. Before, I still invested in Tesla, but after that car, I went really heavy in Tesla stocks. And I love that car. So at the same time, I had the Bentley, I had the Tesla. The Bentley was an old man car. The Tesla was a more mature audience car. I got rid of the Bentley GT Continental and I got into another sports car. And it was an Audi R8 V10 with the aftermarket supercharger by ESS tuning. And the car pushed 770 horsepower to the crank, about 605 to the wheels. I mean, if you're talking about like that car blew the pants off of normal cars or even exotics. I remember racing, I was on the San Mateo Bridge and I was racing a Lamborghini Aventador SV and I took the SV in that car. So, I mean, even though SV is stock, but that SV was over $500,000 compared to a car that was, you know, 150, 180,000 after all the mods, right? So that was the Audi R8 V10, which is probably the fastest car I've owned up to this point. Extremely fun, had a lot of good memories with it. You guys probably seen in some of my videos where we're racing people and just going crazy with the car. Love it, all right? Along with the Audi R8, I think eventually I drove the Tesla for a while. I sold the Tesla and I bought a Range Rover Velar P380. And I think then they didn't have the sports model yet, which is the new interior with the dual screens or 3 screens on the interior. They didn't have the new headlights with the square LED outlines. I remember it was just such a sexy car to me. And I was looking for a deal, meaning that I could buy one at MSRP all across the country, and I found one in Los Angeles. And I remember just buying it over the phone and flying down to pick up the vehicle. And that was a really cool experience. Kept that car for a while. And so after that, I got into Mercedes E-Class and also a Ferrari, as you can see behind me, a Ferrari 458 Italia. You know, this car actually is interesting because I bought it as a placeholder. I didn't have a supercar in my collection. Or exotic, and I felt I just wanted one because I'm that type of person that like driving exotic vehicles. This car came up. I was actually, on the day I bought this, I was supposed to buy a 2019 Huracan, brand new from a dealer. But somehow that day I opened up a browser and I was looking and I found this car available for sale, and I couldn't believe the price that they were listing at, and it was also right at my doorstep. And I remember calling the dealership and I said, hey, do you guys have any action on the vehicle? And they told me, yeah, we have 3 or 4 people inquiring about it. and someone's coming to look at it today. I'm like, yeah, whatever. They always say that, right? So I hang up the phone and I call my buddy who has a couple, exotic vehicles, and I called him. I said, hey, do you have extra Ferrari 458 parts? Because I might pick one up and I need some parts. Because he has, a couple sets of different parts, and then they're all super cool, very unique additions to the vehicle. And I remember him telling me, he goes, where's the vehicle? He was asking me, and I said, okay, it's in San Francisco. And he goes, okay, well, what color is it? Which dealership is it? And I told him, and you know what my friend told me? He goes, okay, we're actually on the way to go look at that car for your other friend. I remember hearing that. I was so upset because my other friend already has, I think he had a pretty cool car already. I'm like, look, don't be greedy, okay? You have a friend here straggling without a supercar. Why don't you guys go? I'll pay you $1,000 and I'll give you another $1,000 to put down as deposit for me. And so they went there and they put down the deposit for me. I remember showing up the next day. I already bought the car over the phone. I showed up the next day, picked up the car, drove it home, and then here it is behind me. And right now, we're making this video, but it has been exactly a year. I put on about 10,000 miles on this car, and I believe it's almost time for the next vehicle. So we're negotiating a sale right now. I don't know if it's going to go through, but if it does, I'll link you guys to the next vehicle that I'm purchasing, and we'll go from there. But after everything's said and done, cars mean different things to different people. To me, it's more so, now they're not only tools for me, but every single one of them holds a significant part in my life. It was always after some type of achievement that I felt like, I deserved the vehicle. It was after, maybe me progressing to the next level in life that I felt that, okay, I need to get this vehicle. They each symbolize something to me, all right? Not just because of the fact that, oh yeah, I drove for a while, but every single one has a special placeholder in my heart and in my life. But overall though, I view them as a tool to service my life. I hope that people can enjoy the fruits of their labor more, because why would you spend money on something that you can't enjoy? Right now we're negotiating to sell this car. I'll let you guys know if it goes through or not. If it does, that means I'm transitioning to the next vehicle, or maybe not, we don't know. I might buy a boat, I might buy a plane, who knows? You can see it in the next video. But other than that, hey, thank you guys for tuning in. See you on the next episode.